1 week before the wedding, I was hit by my fiancé's late wife's sister's car and turned into a pile of flesh. But his eyes were only on that sick mistress. Not only did he force me to sign a letter of understanding, but he also gave all the life-saving resources to her. I never got a word of concern from him, and even after death, I was smeared and my career destroyed. It wasn't until I became a wandering soul that I saw their true colors. It turns out I was not only his backup in love, but even my child became a victim of his love. 1 week before the wedding, Gu Hebai's late wife's sister forced my car to stop at the bridge railing. The car hit me at 120 km per hour 18 times. By the time Gu Hebai arrived with the ambulance, I was dragged out of a pile of scrap metal, but he opened his modified Hummer, which had only dropped the bumper. He held the trembling Shen Yaoyao. Director Gu. My sister-in-law is in bad shape. She needs to be sent to the hospital immediately. Gu Hebai stopped my stretcher, briefly scanning. She doesn't have a drop of blood, just superficial scratches. Yaoyao is suffering from storm syndrome. The rain is getting heavier. Her condition is worse. Take her to the hospital first. When I was left behind, I curled up and struggled to grab Gu Hebai's hand. He frowned and held my hand. Yaoyao didn't mean to hit you. She just had an episode. You're a doctor. You should empathize with the patient. Then he took out a letter of understanding and signed it with my limp hand. The next ambulance will be here soon. Hang in there. I never waited for the next ambulance. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself floating in the air. Cold rain poured down on my uncared-for body, and I wanted to embrace myself. But my arm passed right through it. I bitterly smiled. It turns out I was already dead. Gu Hebai was right. I'm a doctor, so I know what 120 km per hour at 18 collisions means. Shen Yaoyao never intended for me to survive, but as the top doctor in Zhangcheng's internal medicine department, he could easily determine with just a glance that my injuries were superficial. I should have never had any illusions. When it came to Shen Yaoyao, everything important became unimportant, including my life. In the distance, the ambulance's siren grew louder. Doctors and nurses jumped out of the vehicle and rushed towards me in the pouring rain. I watched my limp body being lifted into the ambulance. In the doctor's frantic shouts, the continuous adrenaline injections, the rise and fall of the defibrillator, none of it stopped the ECG from turning into a flat line. The doctor yelled, "Notify the police to clear the road and speed up. Have the hospital prepare for surgery. The patient's condition isn't good." But the 3 calls made to the hospital were rejected. The nurse was furious, her eyes turning red. Why isn't Drive Ming the fiancé of Director Gu? How can he allocate all the resources to a woman who hasn't even scratched her skin? She choked and couldn't continue. Dr. Ming is dying. The whole team of medical staff fell silent. They all knew that at Gu's hospital, there was always a private VIP room reserved for Shen Yaoyao. She was the late wife's sister. She witnessed her sister's tragic death to save her in a stormy night. And since then, she developed a severe storm syndrome. Whenever it rained, she would have an episode, and only Gu Hebai could calm her down. And I, as his fiancé, after being repeatedly left waiting for a marriage certificate by him because of Shen Yaoyao's interference, finally couldn't take it anymore. She has an episode in light rain, gets sick from a thunderclap. Does she really only see you as a brother-in-law? When Gu Hebai slapped me, he froze too. He avoided eye contact. His face stiffened. If you can't accept Yaoyao, then this marriage isn't necessary. I looked at him. A sharp pain surged in my heart. I forced myself to look up, but tears still poured out. 3 days of cold violence from Gu Hebai, and I still compromised, preparing him a surprise. But on the way to the hospital to find him, I was killed by Shen Yaoyao's car. The memory of my soul was fragmented. I felt like I had forgotten something important, but my body uncontrollably floated beside Gu Hebai. In the VIP room, there was hardly a place to stand with all the white coats. Director Gu. The results show that Miss Shen's condition isn't serious. Don't worry. Even though the experts on site reassured him repeatedly, Shen Yaoyao still huddled in Gu Hebai's arms, her eyes red with trembling. Brother-in-law, the rain is so heavy. There are bad people. I'm scared. Gu Hebai was about to say something when his phone suddenly rang. It was a colleague from my department. Shen Yaoyao screamed and grabbed the phone, smashing it with all her strength. Bad person. Ming Tang is a bad person. She wants to kill me. Save me. Brother-in-law, save me. Gu Hebai could no longer care about the phone. He rushed to hold the hysterical Shen Yaoyao. Yaoyao, don't be afraid. Your brother-in-law is here, she cried with a pale face. Ming Tang called me a mistress, said my sister deserved to die. She sent me a video. She said if I keep bothering you, I'll end up like my sister. tortured to death. Brother-in-law, I'm so scared. Am I a mistress? Will you leave me like you left my sister? I looked at Shen Yaoyao in disbelief. Amazed by her acting skills. She was the one who killed me. Yet after my death, she still smeared me. I couldn't forget the cold eyes that looked at me when she pressed the gas. She wasn't having an episode. She consciously tried to kill me. I looked at Gu Hebai, praying after 3 years of love. Even if he never chose me, he at least understood my character and wouldn't do such a malicious thing. But I forgot. In front of Shen Yaoyao, I was nothing. Gu Hebai was terrifyingly calm. He turned off the white noise, his eyes growing colder with each passing second. He picked up Shen Yaoyao, laid her down on the bed, and gently wiped her tears. His tone gentler than I'd ever seen. Yaoyao isn't a mistress. Ming Tang is. Then he took the DR wedding ring out of his pocket, the one we had carefully chosen to exchange in 3 days at our wedding. Without hesitation, he placed it on Shen Yaoyao's ring finger. From now on, Yaoyao will be my bride. Shen Yaoyao suppressed her gloating but pretended to speak nervously in a soft voice. But Ming Tang is your fiancé. She's always waiting to marry you. I'm wearing her ring. Will she hate me even more? She has the nerve. Gu Hebai sneered. If she dares to insult your sister and threaten you, she has to be prepared for the consequences. I not only won't marry her, but I'll also get her removed from the medical profession. A person as vicious as her doesn't deserve to wear that white coat. He immediately took out his phone, sending me an ultimatum. I'll give you 5 minutes. Come over and apologize to Yaoyao. After waiting a long time for a response, Gu Hebai angrily laughed, losing his patience. He, who usually disdains using power to oppress others, for Shen Yaoyao, went through the privileged route for the first time, skipping all official department reviews. He used his position as heir of the GU group to issue a professional ban on me across the internet. I had worked for half my life, endured countless days and nights, and poured my heart and soul into the career I loved most. But because of one careless word from him, it was all gone. Shen Yaoyao finally stopped crying, satisfied as she nestled into his arms. Brother-in-law, I knew you'd always treat Yaoyao the best. Gu Hebai didn't respond, gripping his phone tightly, his face dark as he stared at the screen. He thought this would force me out. But what he didn't know was, I would never show up again. Looking at the fainting palm of my hand in the wind, I wanted to smile, but tears poured out uncontrollably. Loving to the end, losing my life, my name, becoming a lonely soul, unable to even escape from his side. How laughable. The ward was bustling. Everyone was enthusiastically clapping and offering blessings for this perfect moment. But just then, an abrupt figure rushed in. Before anyone could react, a slap landed heavily on Gu Hebai's face. Ming Tang is already dead. Why can't you let her go? Gu Hebai's face turned, his ear ringing as he slowly turned his head, meeting the gaze of the elderly woman before him, shaking with anger and grief. She was my teacher, a re-employed professor of surgery. She had dedicated her life to studying, never marrying, pouring all her love and care into me, an orphan with no blood relation. The old lady's health wasn't good, and she had promised me that after watching me marry Gu Hebai, she would officially retire, waiting for me to have children, holding them with love. But she didn't wait for my wedding, nor did she wait for my happiness. Instead, she waited for my cold body. The pain of burying a child before the parent caused her to age rapidly in just a few days, her hair turning white. My Ming Tang, such a good child, gave her heart and soul for you, lowering herself for you, and here you are, proposing to the person who killed her. Gu Hebai, do you have a conscience? Can you look her in the eye? She clutched her chest, gasping, her tears crawling down her wrinkled face. Gu Hebai calmed himself down, as if hearing a joke. Teacher Yi, even if you're biased toward Ming Tang, there's no need to condone her cursing herself with these lies to be jealous. Don't you fear that saying too much might come true? He looked around, pointing at the door. Isn't she standing right outside, waiting to watch how I fall into her trap, so she can laugh at my stupidity? As if to prove his guess right, he pushed through the crowd and forcefully opened the door. The hallway was empty, not a soul in sight. His expression cracked for a moment, but he quickly smiled, thinking he was right. All right, what's the big deal? Teacher Yi, call her now. Tell her to come out and apologize to Yaoyao. As for the work, it's gone. It's gone. When we're married, she'll focus on taking care of Yaoyao at home, as long as she behaves. I won't hold her threatening Yaoyao against her. I stared blankly at the man I had loved for years, suddenly realizing, I seemed to never have truly known him. He knew how much I loved being a doctor, but he could so casually decide my future. For Shen Yaoyao, sacrificing my life wasn't enough. Having my reputation destroyed was nothing compared to spending my life taking care of her. My marriage, my career, my freedom, all have to make way for Shen Yaoyao. The dense, sharp pain was suffocating me. I suddenly regretted it deeply. Regretted not seeing the rot in this relationship sooner. Thinking that with my sincerity, I could warm a person's heart who never had me in it. Teacher Yi was completely enraged by these shameless words. She trembled with fury, raised her hand, and slapped him again. Shen Yaoyao reacted quickly, stepping in front of Ji Yu Hebai and taking the slap for him. She covered her face, crying with an aggrieved expression. Professor Yi, to get back at Ming Tang, you're lying and hitting people, just because you have fame. Does that mean you can do whatever you want? A person like you, colluding with Ming Tang, who knows how many patients you've harmed? A social menace, a cancer in the hospital. You don't deserve to be a doctor. I gaped, gritting my teeth in fury, wishing I could pounce on Shen Yaoyao and tear off a piece of her flesh. Teacher Yi dedicated her whole life to medicine, saving countless lives. She was the true embodiment of a white-robed saint, a modern Hua Tuo. How could she slander her like this? My heart felt like it was being ripped apart. I hated that I couldn't help Teacher Yi even a little. I watched helplessly as she opened her mouth, her face turning purple from the rage, clutching her chest, gasping. But Ji Yu Hebai ignored her, shielding Shen Yaoyao with his body, his face dark as he challenged. Teacher Yi, you're old. I won't argue with you, but let Ming Tang come out and apologize to Yaoyao for the slap. Or don't blame me for leaving something in your career's last days. I'm sure you wouldn't want your infamous reputation as a quack doctor to follow you into your grave, would you? I felt like I'd been struck by lightning, unable to believe my ears. Tears poured out like beads on a broken string. Ji Yu Hebai forgot that this old lady had once cooked for him, warmed soup for him, caring for him like a son. But now, he wanted to use his power to ruin her lifelong reputation. My heart hurt so badly. I wanted to embrace Teacher Yi's frail, trembling figure, but I couldn't touch her. All I could do was shout in vain, crying in pain. Maybe because the pain had reached its peak. Teacher Yi finally calmed down. She wiped the tears from her eyes, her face filled with sorrow and hopelessness. Do as you wish. Ming Tang is gone. I have no more hopes for the rest of my life. Whether my name is cleared or tarnished doesn't matter anymore. I originally thought Ming Tang loved you so much in life. Maybe she would regret not seeing you one last time. So I kept her body. She looked deeply at Shen Yaoyao, hiding behind Ji Yu Hebai, her eyes full of hidden satisfaction. She smiled lightly. You want to marry her? Go ahead. I'll take my child home. From now on, we have nothing to do with you. She didn't look at them again, leaving with dignity. Sorry for disturbing you, but Shen Yaoyao refused. Old bitch. You slap me and think you can leave. Stand right there. Ji Yu Hebai grabbed her, watching Teacher Yi's heavy back. Suddenly, his chest felt like something had grabbed it. A wave of unease surged. Forget it, Yaoyao. Shen Yaoyao saw his expression worsen and no longer dared to keep causing trouble, softening her tone as she pouted. Brother-in-law, when will our wedding be? I want a beach wedding, with a flower petal rain. The petals must be imported roses, and the wedding dress should be custom made by a foreign master. It has to be more luxurious than sisters. She babbled on for a while, only to find that Ji Yu Hebai was staring at his phone, clearly not listening. We'll talk about the wedding later. Ming Tang went too far this time, even cursed herself to death. I need to find her. She has to come out and apologize. Seeing him about to leave, Shen Yaoyao immediately screamed, hugging him and crying. Don't go. There are bad people who want to kill me. Brother-in-law, don't leave me. The usual tricks suddenly failed at this moment. Ji Yu Hebai looked out at the bright sunshine, his impatience clearly flashing in his eyes. But he held back his temper and instructed the doctor, take care of Miss Shen. As he rushed out of the ward, he suddenly remembered. 3 days ago, 5 or 6 medical staff had exerted a lot of effort to drag me out of the car that had been reduced to a pile of scrap metal, in such a terrible condition. Why didn't I have a single drop of blood? How could it just be superficial injuries? What was he doing at the time? His mind had been full of Shen Yaoyao, who was trembling in his arms, afraid she would have an episode, unwilling to let her suffer the slightest grievance, even afraid I would pursue the matter afterward. He came directly with a letter of understanding to force me to sign. I grabbed his hand, as if trying to say something, but I couldn't say a word. If that wasn't me fighting over jealousy, but a cry for help from near death? Ji Yu Hebai felt like he had been struck by a heavy hammer. At this moment, those details he had deliberately ignored slowly became clear in his professional understanding. A terrifying panic climbed from his feet to the top of his head. He ran to several departments and finally found Vice Director Qian. who had just finished surgery. He charged at him like a madman, grabbing his collar. You know where Ming Tang is, don't you? Let her come out. Make her come out now. Vice Director Qian took off his mask, his face full of mockery. Where should she come out from? The underworld? Dr. Gu, you're so skilled. You could go to hell and snatch her back. Maybe Ming Tang's frozen body will come back to life. Gu Hebai felt like he had been punched in the face. His tall frame swayed, almost falling over. He laughed and cried madly. It's impossible. How could she die? How could she die? She was just angry at me and hid away. I'm a doctor. How could I not save my wife? Vice Director Qian looked at him indifferently. Right. How could you not save her? With the head of internal medicine as her fiancé and the best medical resources in the city. Yet she still died. Died on the cold operating table. All her organs shattered like tofu. As he said this, Vice Director Qian's eyes turned red. Gu Hebai, what were you doing at the time? Even after Ming Tang died, you were still insulting her and asking her to apologize to your fake mistress. Weren't you the one who cursed her wishes to come true? Now she's dead. Are you satisfied? No. You lied to me. He screamed in despair. The hospital has so many resources, so many doctors. Her injuries were so severe. How could there have been no one to rescue her? Why didn't anyone inform me? Halfway through, he seemed to choke on his words. He remembered that day, when he had arranged for all the doctors in the hospital to be on standby just for Shen Yaoyao's fear. Before the phone was smashed, it rang repeatedly. All calls from colleagues in my department. It was wrong. It was all wrong. He stared blankly at his hands, and in the next moment, he clutched his chest in agony and spat out a mouthful of blood. The surrounding doctors rushed to him in a frenzy. He pushed them aside, retreating a few steps, dazed, before suddenly turning and running toward the morgue. But he was too late. My body had already been taken away by the teacher for cremation. He knelt at the teacher's door, crying and shouting at the closed door. Professor Yi, please, let me see Ming Tang just once, please? For an entire afternoon, his voice became hoarse, his knees bruised and broken, but he refused to give up. I stood beside him, watching the tears of pain and regret on his face. It felt so ironic. The attention and love he never gave me while I was alive. Why act as if he loved me to the core after I died? The thunder rumbled, and the heavy rain arrived just as expected. Gu Hebai still didn't leave. Shen Yaoyao could no longer sit still. When the phone was answered, she cried out as usual, with a heart-wrenching sob. Brother-in-law, it's raining so hard. There are bad people. Help. Gu Hebai calmly listened to her, silent for a few seconds before responding. Okay, I'll go to the hospital now. I died in the car accident 3 days ago, but Shen Yaoyao is now accusing me of threatening her. The phone was hung up, and he called the assistant his father had left him. On the way to the hospital, his assistant called, Young master, we found it. He paused for a few seconds before saying, You'd better be mentally prepared. Even though he was prepared. When the file opened, Gu Hebai's fingers turned white. 5 years ago, on the stormy night, he had missed his ex-wife Shen Manman's birthday party because of an important surgery. That same night, a group of desperados broke in. By the time he rushed back after receiving the call, Shen Manman's broken body was covered by a white cloth. Shen Yaoyao, crying uncontrollably, told him her sister locked her in a room to protect her. After that night, Shen Yaoyao became mentally unstable, crying uncontrollably during rainstorms. She was diagnosed with storm syndrome. For all these years, Gu Hebai, feeling guilty about Shen Manman's death, tried to make up for it by doting on Shen Yaoyao. Even I, the one who helped him walk out of his depression and gave him warmth and love again, became a second choice. But the documents and videos his assistant sent him showed Shen Yaoyao holding a photo of Shen Manman, negotiating with the criminals who killed her, saying the most vicious things. This woman is my sister. Her birthday is in 2 days. Make it as miserable as possible. Do I need to teach you how? Scrolling down, there was another video from the surveillance cameras on the bridge 3 days ago. 18 times, constantly reversing and slamming on the accelerator, hitting the car with violent force. The body of the car was dented and shattered under each impact, until the 2 front doors almost closed. Shen Yaoyao finally opened the car door. In the heavy rain, she casually walked over, smiling and peering through the shattered window. She looked at me twisted in the gap, a posture no normal person could achieve. Want to marry my brother-in-law? Go to hell. He's only mine. Her unconscious hand was placed on her abdomen, stiffly curled. Shen Yaoyao saw this scene and suddenly understood something, laughing excitedly. Buy one, get one free. Ming Tang, the only blame is you shouldn't have fallen for the man I like. Do you believe me? If I cry, Even if you're dead, brother-in-law won't even glance at you. At first, I didn't believe it, even though Gu Hebai cherished Shen Yaoyao. He had said I was the one he would spend his life with. In the 3 years we were together, we had sweet moments. He remembered my cycle and would prepare ginger tea and painkillers for me. On my birthday, we drove to Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, and he took me to see the golden sunlight on the mountain, which I had longed for. I thought I had warmed his heart, but reality easily destroyed my faith. I covered my mouth, tears streaming down. Finally, I remembered the surprise I had forgotten, and that day when I was near death, the words I wanted to say to Gu Hebai. I begged him, save the child, but in the end, both the child and I were left in the despair of the heavy rain, slowly dying into silence. The phone slid down. Gu Hebai let out a desperate scream, punching his chest again and again, as if only the physical pain could ease a fraction of the agony in his chest. I don't know how much time passed, but when he lifted his head from the steering wheel, his bloodshot eyes were filled with terrifying malice. The next day, Shen Yaoyao's death in a chain car accident made the news. Even the seasoned police officers were stunned by the horrific scene when they arrived. More than 10 cars had run over her. Shen Yaoyao died with her eyes wide open, covered in blood, intestines spilling out. Her death was unbearable to look at. Gu Hebai acted like nothing was wrong, gathering the body and tossing it into a pile of wild dogs. The following month, he personally prepared the wedding, sent out invitations, inviting everyone we knew, but on the day of the wedding, the empty hall was only filled with him. He wore his groom's outfit, looking at the AI-generated picture of me in a wedding dress, smiling tenderly. Wife, happy wedding. I watched it all, only feeling like he had gone mad. Gu Hebai went to find the teacher many times, but each time, he was chased out by the teacher with a broom. 6 months later, one day, he suddenly found out where my grave was. Ignoring the stormy night, he drove there overnight. On the way, an oil tanker exploded, and there were many casualties. When his consciousness was fading, he saw the bridge outside, the place where I had been abandoned. The rain was cold, hitting his gradually numbing body. He closed his eyes. Tears of blood fell. It turns out, this was what I had felt back then. From a distance, paramedics were shouting, "Quick, there's someone severely injured here." The car door was pulled open, and another voice shouted, "There's a pregnant woman. No space in the ambulance." He squeezed out a relieved smile. "Save the pregnant woman first. I'll wait for the next one." The flashing lights disappeared into the distance, and he sighed his last breath. "Ah Tang, walk slowly. Wait for me." Of course, I wouldn't wait for him. At the moment he breathed his last, my soul was already free. In this lifetime, we will never meet again.